All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone Ruel. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Bayat Dawadah, the house of David. All right, so we're just going to get right into it, all right? Let's go right here. And I put in, right in the Google, it says four ways to take down a nation. Right? Throughout history, political theorists, military strategists, and subvision experts have identified several primary vectors used to destabilize or take down a nation. In geopolitical context, these methods typically fall into the four distinct categories, right? Ideological, right? Ideological, subvision, and psychological warfare, right? It says this strategy focus on shifting the cultural and psychological reality of a nation over a long period, as famously outlined by historical defectors and intelligence analysts. This process generally involves four chronological stages: demoralization, erecting a nation's moral foundation and educational frameworks and cultural identity over several decades. You see, let's go to Jeremiah 17:4. Jeremiah 17:4, it says, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in a land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Right? Okay, let's go back into here, right? Demoralization, okay, and slavery. You know, where they beat our heritage out of us, man. Made us lower than low. You see, all right. With 2/5 of a man, that's what they call Jake. 2/5 of a man. Okay, you see. Destabilization, right? Targeting a country's essential, structural pillars, such as its economy and foreign relations and defense systems. Crisis, right? Or chesting or capitalizing on a major systematic shock, such as a pandemic or an election dispute or border conflict to trigger mass public panic. Normalization, conditioning the public to accept highly receptive new normal where citizens willingly surrender individual freedoms in exchange for state provided security. Economic warfare and financial isolation, right? You know, hey man. It says, rather than utilizing traditional military assets, foreign adversaries or international coalitions can cripple a nation by targeting its financial survival. Systematic sanctions, cutting the target nation off from global banking networks, which freezes national industries and personal fortunes. All right, it says supply line disruption, weaponizing trade by haltering imports, inciting supply attacks, and blocking access to shared national resources. Unsustainable debt. It says forcing structural reforms, reckless printing of fiat money, or international financial pressure that triggers hyperinflation and destroys the domestic currency. All right. It says asymmetric and hybrid warfare. Modern conflict often bypasses conventional armies in favor of covert decentralized disruption. Cyber warfare, launching systematic digital attacks aimed at shutting down critical national infrastructure, including power grids, communication networks, and financial markets. Guerrilla and proxy conflict, sowing initial chaos by funding domestic rebel fractions, criminal cartels, or a systematic network to trap the primary government in an endless and unwinnable war, right? Exploitation and internal polarization. A nation can be shattered from within by systematically exasperating existing social fault lines. All right, stroking ethical and political tensions, deliberately funding hate speech, hyper-partisan propaganda, and regional grievances to pitch different demographics against one another, institutional erosions, undermining public trust in core domestic institutions, law enforcement, and electrical system until the local population no longer views its own government as legitimate. You see? All right, so let's go into Psalm, right? The 83rd chapter. Psalm, the 83rd chapter. Okay? Let's start from the first verse. It says, a song or a psalm of Asaph, keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult. Right, let's go into the word tumult. All right. Let's play it.
Strong's H, 1993. Hama. Hama.
Hama, to mourn, growl, roar, cry, aloud, mourn, rage. You see? And that's what they've been doing. They've been raging against us. They've been, sound, making noise, tumult, be clamorous, be disquieted, be loud, be moved, be troubled, be in an uproar. And that's what they have been, these nations, and especially Esau, Edom, when they hold a summit meetings, right? Summit is is at the top of a mountain, which is a high peak, which that's what they go and they talk about in their summit meetings about the people that's on that 12 tribes of Israel sign, all the way down from Judah, all the way down to Issachar. Okay? To growl, to murmur, right? To roar, to be in stir, be in commotion, to be boisterous and be turbulent. Okay? All right? It says great commotion or tumult, to rage, war, right? Mourn, right? Clamor, clamorous, concourse, cry aloud, be disquieted, loud, mourn, be moved, and make a noise, rage, roar, sound, be troubled, make in tumultuous, and be in an uproar. You see? All right? Okay, it says, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. Right? Because these nations, they hate us, man. Just like we hate you, starting with you devils first, Esau, Edom, and all the rest of you other nations, man. You see? Okay? The other nations are nothing, man. The Most High said that they are nothing. They're nothing. They were created nothing but to be slaves. All right? All the other 17 nations. See, you were only created to be slaves. Now, the only reason why you over top was because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Henceforth, we gave them these 4 ways to take us down. Right? Demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. Right? Okay? It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Let's go on the word crafty. Right? Salakia. Let's go on the word crafty. Okay?
Strong's H, 6191. Aram.
Aram. Right? To be subtle, to be shrewd. Be crafty, beware, take crafty counsel, be prudent. To be crafty, be subtle, right? Sneaky, real sly, real slick, real crafty, right? To be crafty, be subtle. To be crafty, become shrewd, right? Through the idea, the purpose of smoothness, right? Bare but used only in the derivative sense through the idea, perhaps of smoothness, to be cunning, usually in a bad sense. Very beware, take crafty counsel, right? Counsel is a meeting, okay? And be prudent and deal subtility, right? Subtilely, all right? It says, and they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. I read you Jeremiah 17:4, right? Starting with Esau, Edom first and foremost, when we was in bondage with yokes of iron upon our necks, man. Okay? You know? That was the demoralization. Okay? It says, where we at? It says, being a nation, the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, but they have consulted together with one consent. Right? They came together with one consent. Right? They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the tiny tops, the small hat, the croissant top, the baby hat. Okay? We are enemies with Amalek, right? The Most High is the enemy of the Amalek. Right? And Amalek is the enemy of the Most High. Yahweh. You see? The Philistines with the inhabitants. In the Philistines, we go back to being enemies with the Philistines long time, man. Okay? You can go and read that. You can go and read about that in the beginning of the book, man. It says, with the inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur also is joined with them, and they have hope in the children of Lot. You see? What do you think the Judges was all about with the Philistines, man? Samson. You know? Going back into that. King David. You know? Okay? So let's go over to Psalms 55, right? Because we know who our enemies are, and this is what they have done to us, man. Right? But see, the Lord has put the spirit back on us to raise up, because he's about to flip everything right side up, man. Everything is about to be flipped back right side up, and we are going to be on top. They're going to be on the bottom. Esau, Edom is going to serve as 1,000 years of slavery, then poof, be gone. Arrivederci, Obadiah 1:18, out of there. Okay? And the rest of the nation is going to come to us. They're going to flow to us, and they're going to serve us. They're going to serve our power, Yahweh, and his son Yahushua. Right? They're going to learn the laws, statutes, and commandments. You see? Okay? We're going to run the world in righteousness, man. We're going to rule in righteousness. We're going to be kings and priests. You see? The laws, statutes, and commandments are going to be within our inward part. Meaning our mind, our heart, our la'ab. Right? Our la'ab. Okay? So let's go to Psalm 55. Right? Psalm 55, and let's go to verse number 20. You see, it says he had put forth his hands against such as be with peace with him, and he had broken his covenant. Right? Because this man's a devil. Okay, he did it with the northern kingdom, man. When he came over here and he seen the northern kingdom, well, they'll make good slaves. Put them on sugar cane fields and so on and so forth. Demoralization. Destabilization, right? Crisis and normalization. You see, that's why the northern kingdom, they all in cahoots with Esau, Edom, man. But that's our enemy, man. That's been our enemy from the beginning of time. All right, going back to Cain, even going back to Cain and Abel, man, which is nothing but the reincarnation of Jacob and Esau, right? You see, if you can understand that, okay. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, his mind, okay? His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You see? Yet were they drawn swords. Okay? All right? Matter of fact, let's just read verse 22 and 23. It says, cast thy burden upon the Lord Yahweh, and he shall sustain thee, and he will never suffer the righteous to be moved. But thou, O Yahweh, shall bring them down into the pit of the destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out their half of their days, but I will trust in thee. That's right. You're supposed to trust in Yahweh, man. Okay? John 10:10. because we're not going to make this long. We get ready to end it soon. All right? John 10:10. It says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that I might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. You see? All right? We waiting on our big brother Yahweh Shai, man. You know? Life is going to flourish when Yahweh Shai, when we get the kingdom, man. Life is going to flourish, man. You're going to live out your life, man. You see? You understand? So let's get my last scripture. Let's get out of there. Right? And let's go to Sirach 12:10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, and neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or such as come nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to the sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit, and he will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And it says, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee, and he will shake his head and clap his hands, and whisper much, and change his countenance. All right, so, we're going to end it right there. We're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Marakar Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Bayat Dawadah, the house of David. Kwam Yasha'Allah, Abba Babal, repent ye, for the kingdom of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is at hand. Shalom.